Today I'm going to be endotapping with Atlas. So I will make a whole podcast on the details of endotapping and have some resources. But basically I'm adding a stimulus, in this case my dressage whip with a little piece of vet wrap wrapped around it to make a little ball. I'm adding that stimulus, which is the gentle tapping, until the horse makes a change to relaxation, and then I take it away. So I'm basically teaching him when a stimulus when he encounters a stimulus to relax versus to tense up. That's basically what it is in a nutshell. There's a lot more detail to it, but I want to just kind of go over how he interacts with it and how he does with it versus explain it all right here. But I will split that in a different video and podcast. So I just let him get used to the stick. He's seen the dressage whip before. I have not tapped him before. So I'm just going to start on his neck. That's the easiest place for him to be. And then he kind of just hit the end of the rope and was like, oh goodness, this is weird. Having them move off is normal. That's a normal reaction to the tapping. That's fine. I'm going to let him move. I'm going to try not to restrict him too much. I want to follow him around, and then I want that release. You want some licking and chewing, you want some eye blinks, and he's giving me a lot already. The endotapping I've found is absolutely amazing. Like the two Mustangs are completely different horses afterward. It's very much like a reset button. So I've introduced him. I let him sniff the stick, and I kind of rubbed it on him, and then I'm just very lightly tapping. And I did kind of count to like 8 and just kind of start over, just so I kind of keep my same rhythm, but you can do whatever works for you. But basically I'm just waiting until he shows me a sign of relaxation. So like that first time I waited until he stopped moving, and then I let go and let him think about it. So here I think he was blinking his eyes and lowering his neck a bit, and then I stop, and I'm just going to give him a second. You might have to step back away from the horse as well. It's not always immediate, the release. It might take a few minutes, and it takes time because the horse has to process how he feels about it. But there he's blowing his nose, he's licking his lips, he's kind of moving around. All of that is tension release. So he's not trying to escape like he is on a halter and lead line. I do it on a halter and lead line because you kind of have to say, no, let's stay here, and I'm going to show you what this is about, versus just kind of chasing them with the stick. So, but it is on a loose line, and he is relaxed. So I'm just going to stay in that same place, kind of toward the base of his neck, and just do that very light tapping. And then he kind of blinked his eyes, and you can see that lower lip is kind of hanging down a little bit. It's nice and loose. His top line's nice and relaxed. His ears are swiveling. His tail is working. So he's in a relaxed state. I saw the sign of relaxation, so I went, gonna give him a second. Again, he's blowing his nose, licking his lips, and he's coming toward me. He's engaging. So you're gonna get horses that are relaxing. They're gonna shake. They're gonna move a little bit. They're gonna blow their nose. Brett and Atlas both like to curl their upper lip. You might get just some other responses in there too. Some horses lay down. Some horses do other behaviors. But coming and doing all that release, or coming to you and looking for connection, are both acceptable answers, and those are the goals that we want. So I want him to come to me, and there's going to be a lot of licking. Atlas will start licking. Castor does a ton of licking. They're connecting with you, and I'm okay with the licking. I want him to release whatever he needs to, the tension that's in his body, and interact with me and kind of connect with me, and I'm okay with all those things. So I'm not sure if he does a lot of licking in this video, but once you watch Castor's series, you'll see that there. But if he wants to look around and look at things, that's totally fine. If he goes to like staring off and he's not doing anything, and you see a bit of tension in his body language, I would go ahead and start tapping again. But there he was just kind of looking. He came back to me, and I'm just kind of gonna start over. He's not really doing a whole lot. Now, this isn't perfect. This was the first time I've ever done it with any horse. So I was like, yeah, let's try it on my Mustang. So, and the results were amazing. So it's not going to be perfect. This is not something I came up with. I've seen it online, and I need to find my resources because I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember the name of where I found it at this point, but it's like, I don't remember the lady who does it, but it's Fox Point Farms is where I got a lot of the research, but I'm just forgetting her name at the moment. But but it is very scientific. I'm going to find some of the resources and probably put together some articles on the science behind it. But their Atlas is releasing again. He's doing some nice licks and chews. And really, like, I could have been done after the first release and been like, all right, he's done for the day. But me, I wanted to kind of experiment more. And sometimes I have that, like, let's do some more. And then that's how this video turned into a longer one. The next one's a little bit longer one. But the process is important to see, and I'll probably kind of speed up parts of it. So I'm going to put him over here. So he was trying to kind of switch sides and go the other way, which is okay, but I just wanted him to just stay on that one side and not push into me, because he has that habit where he just wants to kind of step his shoulders over. So I'm trying to decipher, is that this, or is that him just trying to connect with me? And so I just asked him to move over. He keeps trying to go to the other side. He wanted to do that circle. And then I'm just going to kind of allow him to find that. If he wasn't finding the stop, then I would just kind of put a bend in him and wait for him. Like here, I should have put a bend in him with the lead rope and just picked up toward his hindquarters and waited till he found that contact before I started tapping, because I'm just adding in another element that he doesn't really need. So that's why this is experiments. This is more of a training diary situation. So I should have stopped here because he has stopped, but I think I was looking for more relaxation. So again, always looking for more than I probably should have, but there a little release because he was blinking and kind of relaxing a little bit more in his body language. And I don't want to mix food in this. It has to just be a physical reaction to the stimulus, which is the tapping. I don't click and treat. I don't add anything else in there, because then you're just muddying the waters. You're making it confusing. And I like to have little sessions where I work with the horses with this technique, with focus work, with Masterson method, with other things where there's no food involved. So then it's not always food, and it's always doing something with me. But this is a really nice release. He's really licking for a long time and chewing. So that's really excellent. I'm looking for licking and chewing, like tongue out, yawning, eye rolling, lots of blinking, lowering the head and neck, all that stuff. So after I just said I didn't want to use food, I fed him a treat for some reason. I'm not sure exactly what I fed there, but now, like, when I'm watching the videos, I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have been adding food in here, but so he's minding my space nicely. I want him to connect, but I don't want him to get super close and push in on me. So there's kind of that line there, like you can come and interact with me, but not push me down and just the way they go about it. So that's just something important to watch for in their body language as you do this. I'm just going to move him back to the shade just because it's really hot. And kind of set him up so that the camera can see here. But always start on the neck in the beginning, because the neck's pretty easy place. I moved down then to like the withers and the hindquarters and the shoulder and other places, or you could do it in multiple places. But the neck's just a nice easy place to start. It gets them starting to relax, and then you can stay in a safe position. I am tapping his neck. My body's in the way right now. So again, I'm just waiting for that relaxed response, and you can see that left ear kind of flicking back and forth really quick. He's watching that dressage whip. And now I don't have the vet wrap on the end. I just have a dressage whip. You can use it as that too. It seems to work the same. So he went ahead and started chewing, so I'm going to take that away immediately, and then I'm going to let him lick and chew as much as he needs. If he needs to stand here for 10 minutes and let all the tension out of his body, I'm going to allow him to do that. So a little bit about the tapping, since you kind of have the general idea. It's usually when horses are in a fearful situation or pressure is put on them where they need to move forward or something like that, there's a little bit of tension, and the horses start moving into their sympathetic nervous system. So that's flight or flight. And once that threat is gone, or once that stimulus is gone, then the horse transitions back to parasympathetic. So now they're in the rest and digest stage. And Warwick Stiller talks about that. I don't think he does endotapping, but he does the focus work, and it's very similar. So they're switching back between nervous systems, and that's where you get the licking and the chewing. When horses go into flight or fight, they don't have any saliva in their mouth, so they can seal their airways and run away. Once they go back to that resting, grazing mode, then the saliva comes back, they start licking and chewing. So basically what I'm teaching here is a stimulus is presented and it goes away when you relax. So basically the whole training, from a training perspective, would be, okay, say a bird jumps out of the bush. He's like, okay, it's fine. And then maybe he's scared for a second and he adjusts himself back. Or ask him to lunge on a circle, he remains relaxed, or he can deal with pressure basically. And then it goes further than that, and there's a lot of scientific and like body science that goes into it with the muscles and nerves and things like that. But I'll have that written out because it makes more sense when I can have all my research and things together and instead of talking about it. But that's it, just kind of as like in a summary, is what the endotapping is. And I was skeptical at first as well, but it's pretty interesting result. So he was moving around. I just stayed with him. Not a big deal. And then I'm just going to let him lick and chew. I probably shouldn't have been too picky about his position there. And again, shouldn't have been feeding him anything. So I'm clicking and feeding him for moving over. But when I'm adding the click and feed, I'm adding him going into a seeking system. So I really want him to be in more of a rest system here versus seeking for food. And that's where you can get in trouble, and that's why I don't want to add food. But I wanted to show the video since there was such a big change in him, since this is his first time tapping. It was just pretty interesting. So he's, again, blowing his nose a lot. Like, he's done that 3 or 4 times and done a bunch of licking. It's pretty incredible. I was definitely shocked when I actually tried it out on him, because I had seen like a video on YouTube and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I tried it out and it was pretty cool. But now I'm going to just do the same thing on his withers. And again, I'm just waiting. So he's kind of flinching, kind of moving around, maybe about to release some tension. And I'm just going to wait for him. The tapping the horse with like a lot of pressure is not your goal. That's not what we want to do here. We want to tap to where there's enough to kind of massage the muscle and kind of have a bit of pressure, but not so much like you're whacking the horse. That's not the point. The point is not to hit the horse until it relaxes. That's not what we're doing. But it's very similar to if I'm asking him to lunge, I pick up my whip and I toss it to him. When he goes forward, I stop. But instead of asking him to go forward from something, I'm asking him to relax in the presence of stimulus. And a lot of horses have a hard time doing that, and that's why I love endotapping so much. It's like now we're rewiring it. We're like, here's a stimulus. Now instead of going into flight and getting worried and having tension, it's, oh, here's a stimulus, I'm relaxing. So, and that takes time to train, but it is very interesting and very helpful tool, because eventually once you have that button, like with Castor now, I can tap him on the neck with my hand just lightly, like I would be petting him, and he'll put his head down and go into that relax. So I have that, there's a bug, that's why I'm moving around, but I can go and I have that reset button. So the horse is worried, he's looking at something, I can tap him and he comes right back down. So it's like a little reset. It's like turning your phone on and off. It's just, okay, you're fine. And he can come and back and relax. So it does take time and practice, but there he's giving me a really nice release again. So I've stopped tapping, but the length and the amount of time that he's licking and chewing is amazing. And his body language here, his ears relaxed, his neck's relaxed, but he's not shut down. He's looking around. He's got his tail swishing. It's just absolutely amazing. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I've never seen anything done with this with horses before, and I've never really had that as in much connection as I had, unless what I was doing the focus work that had some connection to, but this was just, I think it has, both of them have space for training, and this one just helps teach that stimulus and the relaxation to the stimulus that other things cannot or do not. So it's pretty interesting to me, at least. But I am going to show, so I'm just waiting for him here. I want to see if he's going to relax and release a little bit, because you can see his nostrils are kind of pulled back a little bit, kind of toward like the corner of his lips. So he's got some tension there he might be just holding. So he's not really doing anything. He looks a little bit shut down. So I'm going to start tapping him on his chest here. And there are different locations and different steps that there are, and I'll show that in my research. But I think I kind of just picked some, and I think I found that afterward, but there is like a method to do it. So, because once horses are always moving from stimulus and fight or flight, they carry that tension with them, and then that can go into other problems mentally and physically. So I want to just release as much tension as we can from the horses, and just especially just in training every day, I want at least amount of tension to be there every day. So, and again, he's relaxed his face, he's kind of moving his lips a little bit. If he does the head turn away, that's a calming signal, that's okay. And then my battery died, so